So he has given the consent for this particular case to be both in terms of narco analysis or in terms of the same polygraph. He has given consent. So this consent, they will utilize that and they will extract evidence from this particular polygraph or the narco analysis. They will go ahead and submit in the court of law. However, it's the prerogative of the court of law to have this as a corroborative evidence or not.
The Delhi police has now approached a court to conduct a polygraph test on Aaftab Poonawala. The development comes days after a Delhi court agreed to a narco test on Aftab. Aftab has been accused of killing his live-in partner Shraddha Walkar. Delhi police wants to conduct the polygraph test to help investigators find the missing weapon and other evidences in the murder case. A top criminology and crime sciences professor tells us what is a polygraph test and if it will help Delhi police in the Shraddha Walkar murder case.
A polygraph test is a test which is conducted on a person to understand his responses with relation to blood pressure, galvanic skin response, pulse rate and blood pressure. This is normally being done using certain instruments on his body, even kind of an encephalograph which is normally being on the chest, and also the abdomen, an instrument is there, and a specifically designed chair is used to understand the behavior of the persons. But many times people think this is for lie detection, but it is not the fact. Normally polygraph doesn't mean that it is a lie detector, because it is only working on a conditional questions which an expert will ask, and then based on that answers will be done and the responses will be noted. Predominantly they are using it as a lie detector for reason that this will show whether the person is showing a different response compared to the normal response which he or she is doing. In earlier days, even in China, they believe that people will have less salivary response when they tell lies. So they give dry rice powder and put it in the mouth. So if there is no saliva, then they understand that the person has lied. So this is also a typical kind of an instrument which tests all the activities or the physiological and the psychological responses during an anxiety, but not necessarily this mean they are telling lies. Polygraph test work on the basis of their pulse rate, their blood pressure, their galvanic skin response, and the behavioral changes that do happen during this test. So there are two things available here. One, the examiner, that means the person who examines, or the polygraph expert, one a human being, and the other one is the machine response. So while asking the questions also, sometimes the examiner puts certain question which may be or may not be connected to the particular response or the incident. So he need to be more expert in that particular way of questioning things, so that way the accused may give certain answers which is based on the physiological differences previously and after the answer is being done. Most of the questions are only yes and no answer type, not a very detailed questioning will be done. Only objective kind of questions are being done. However, what happens is that these questions are called controlled questions. So most of the questions are controlled in question in nature, and this test is called deception detection test. They call it DTT. These tests are not at all accurate for two reasons. One, this is not a lie detection, as I told earlier, and also the bodily or the anxiety response may not necessarily be connected with the lies alone. It can be for various reasons, because polygraph is measuring various responses like anxiety response, even hypoglycemia and everything they are understanding and analyzing, and not necessarily this may be connected only with the lie. And the American Psychological Association has told very clearly that these tests are inaccurate in nature. And also they have conducted several studies on the polygraph test itself, and they have found that several of the cases which has produced such tests has become inaccurate in nature, and the outcome is not the exact that what they can want. So also in some cases, some people are good in lying, and for them, if a polygraph is administered, it is very difficult to bring response out of those persons. So that way, I believe that these tests are not that accurate that one can use it as an evidence in the court of law, and already the court of law is also not accepting this as an evidence. Already in this current case, Aaftab Poonawala case, narco analysis is admissible because he has consented. Same is the case with polygraph also, he has consented. So as per the Supreme Court guidelines and as per a Karnataka court guidelines, which says that consent is a must. So he has given the consent for this particular case to be both in terms of narco analysis or in terms of the same polygraph. He has given consent. So this consent, they will utilize that and they will extract evidence from this particular polygraph or the narco analysis. They will go ahead and submit in the court of law. However, it's the prerogative of the court of law to have this as a corroborative evidence or not. So they will take the issue of consent. At the same time, they will see that how well this particular statement has a corroborative value. In 2010, in Selvi versus State of Karnataka, the Supreme Court has categorically removed this particular test, polygraph test or similar test like brain mapping or narco analysis from the criminal justice processes, and it cannot be used as a confession tool or confession making machine. A polygraph cannot be used because it is against the right to self-incrimination as per Article 21 and right to privacy too. So police can use this particular polygraph test only as an aid of investigation and cannot be used to get confession or a conclusive proof. However, as per Section 45 of the Indian Evidence Act, an expert opinion is admissible, and in case this polygraph examiner is an expert, that opinion can be taken by the court or the court can consider, but it cannot be used as a ultimate evidence that we call as a primary evidence. It can be having a very, very little corroborative value.